the one guy that's doing pretty good with me in Iowa is Ted Cruz. And he's a nice guy. I mean, everything I say, he agrees with me. No matter what I say, I was going to do one really wild, but he agrees. And again, I do like Ted Cruz, but not a lot of evangelicals come out of Cuba, in all fairness. It's true. Not a lot come out. But I like him nevertheless.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we are joined by Congressman Steve King, U.S. Congressman from the great state of Iowa, a member of the House Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security. It is so great to see you, sir.
Great to be here. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's start with the, you're a Cruz guy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Ted Cruz is doing quite well in your state of Iowa. Do you think he will win Iowa?
It looks like it today, and we've never seen this kind of a bump and a jump in the polls in the history of the Iowa caucus that we've tracked. And so, as you know, I endorsed him on November 16th. At that time, you could see he'd built a statewide organization. He'd raised a lot of money. He was right on all the issues. Checks all of the boxes for a full-spectrum constitutional conservative. And as that happened, Iowans were moving towards making a decision. And over that period of about this last month or so, a lot of them have made their decision, and it looks like Ted Cruz is on his way.
You touched on it in general, but why? I mean, was it the fall from grace of Carson combined with some of Trump's policies? What do you attribute the rise of Cruz to?
Well, first, the man that he is, and I've introduced him a good number of times as saying, you don't have to be that smart to be president of the United States, but it helps.
But he is, yeah.
And he is, and he's right on all the issues for the caucus goers. And I think Donald Trump cleared a lot of the path on the immigration issue, so there was room for Ted Cruz's immigration policy, what came out about that time, about maybe the 10th or so of November when that came out. And then Carson was taking heat because of his foreign policy, public and national media, all of that coupled together. And you know, I have to tell myself that I helped out a little bit there, but I know I didn't hurt him, at least, by that endorsement, and it just seemed to come together and surge, and he went from around 6 or 10% on up to 31, according to the best poll out there really is the Des Moines Register poll.
But you said on immigration, I know Trump's immigration policy is quite strict in every regard, and you're very strict on immigration. So what don't you like about Trump, and what do you like about Cruz compared to Trump on immigration?
I think the difference is that Trump's policy is, it's 11 pages, it's detailed, it cites legislation that's been introduced, some by me, some by Jeff Sessions, some by Ted Cruz, and other policies that he would implement. It's a complete policy, it's well thought out, it's deep, and it gives you confidence that as a president, Ted Cruz will do the things he said he's going to do, and he's got it figured out how to get it done.
What don't you like about Donald Trump?
Well, you know, I don't want to give the same kind of response that Ted Cruz would if he were sitting here, because...
Well, I want a Stephen King response. Let Cruz will have the debate tomorrow.
I'm attracted to unique personalities, so I like Donald Trump. He's unique. He's a hard charger, and I've sometimes introduced him in this way. He's mastered everything except humility. So I'm not saying that's a criticism, because it takes a strong ego to do what's being done. And I'm glad that he stepped up in this way. I don't see the depth in Donald Trump that I see in Ted Cruz.
Okay. And what, all around?
Anchored into the Constitution, the pillars of American exceptionalism, the rule of law, an understanding that we need to restore a civilization, and we need to get our soul back as a country. And I think that Ted Cruz is in the position to do that and understands it.
If Trump is the nominee, would you vote for him?
I just fairly recently told him, you're the nominee, I'm all in, Donald.
Okay.
And I could do that enthusiastically.
And what do you think about candidates that won't do, you know, are kind of hinting at reneging on that pledge at this point?
On the pledge of staying in
supporting the Republican nominee no matter who it is when it comes to Trump?
You know, I'm uneasy about that, and I understand Trump's answer earlier. It is that he's at the top of the polls. Why would he contemplate such a thing? I do understand that. Ben Carson apparently made some noise with regard to this too, or made a comment or two. I don't think any of it was very intense, but we're in this together, and we know what happened when we had Ross Perot. We would have never heard of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So he brought Bill Clinton to the presidency. We don't need that kind of a candidate bringing Hillary Clinton to the presidency.
So you don't want Trump or Carson, for that matter, or Cruz to run. Not that Cruz has mentioned it, to run as a third party, because that would be Hillary, right?
Absolutely not. It's you've got to be on one team or the other. There's only two color jerseys here.
So how do you account for? And I know national polls are very unimportant compared to this specific state polls at this point. But the latest Monmouth poll out today, Trump 41% and Cruz 14. How do you account for that?
Well, I did look at that, and that was a poll that was a nationwide poll that addressed Republicans and independents who identified as being inclined towards being Republican. Well, that's not very specific, and we don't know what states. The margin of error, I didn't see that either. But a lot of those people who answered that poll will be influenced by Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. And so that's where it matters right now. And in Iowa, it's Cruz 31, Trump 21, and Carson 13.
Right.
And so we'll see how that goes if Iowa gets to make a recommendation to the rest of the country. And that's what it is, objectively
right,
saying.
and it didn't work. It wasn't a recommendation that the rest of the country took in 08 or 12.
Well, I'd say that I don't know how we can conclude that.
No, well, okay, let me rephrase it. Neither Huckabee nor Santorum won their respective nominations.
True, but each of those nominees lost the presidency. And so you can make the argument that if we'd nominated either Huckabee or Santorum, we might have won the presidency instead. I just put that out there for the sake of debate because it's as legitimate as the other side of that coin.
All right, the president spoke today on, he met with his security team, and he went before the microphones, took no questions. It's not even worth listening to because it's the same old, there was nothing new. You have been critical of Congressman Ellison from Minnesota for not denouncing Sharia. So where do you stand on the fight against ISIS, Trump's plan, and and how important is it for you to hear from Muslim elected officials that I denounce Sharia?
Well, I think that Trump's plan is it's bold and it's broad, and it opens up the dialogue like he did for immigration and lets us have a reasonable discussion on it. I said from the beginning that anybody that's an American citizen, no matter what their religious affiliation is, needs to be treated equally with any other. I mean, that's got to be
an American, but not people coming in who aren't. Yeah.
Right, and we have Congress should be making those decisions,
right.
and a president can make a recommendation. Congress makes the decisions. So if we wanted to just pass a law that only redheads are going to come into America, we could do that, and that constitutional point needs to be made so that people understand that the equal opportunity in America doesn't exist in immigration law when people from foreign countries are coming in.
What about the people like Ellison who are elected officials if they refuse to denounce Sharia? Problem?
Well, I brought that up to make a point that Sharia law is incompatible with the United States Constitution.
Sure.
And so when you bring people in that adhere to Sharia law, if they're willing to renounce Sharia law, then we can have a legitimate discussion about them assimilating into Americanism. But if they will not renounce Sharia law, and it happened that when I made that statement, Keith Ellison was about 10 feet away from me.
Go next,
and I'm glad that opportunity was there for him to answer the question.
Did he renounce it?
No press has asked him the question yet.
And
They promised me they'll ask, but they don't ask.
Yeah, they don't ask.
And so I would ask it this way: which is superior, the United States Constitution or Sharia law? Yeah. Sharia law trumps everything and replaces everything, and they say there's no need for any other law. So that's what we're looking at.
Great to see you, sir. Keep up the good work. Congressman Stephen King, ladies and gentlemen. And up next, the Malzberg panel with John Gizzi and James Taranto. Don't miss it. Really great seeing you. I want to take a